Welcome to SciSense, where we unwrap scientific research, because science should not be a puzzle.
Welcome to the SciSense podcast. I am Sarah, and I am joined, as always, by Mike. Today we are talking about something that sounds deceptively simple but could genuinely change the world. A paper just published in the journal Nature Plants by Dawei Li, Xinyu Jing, Chunji Jiang, and colleagues at the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Mike, we are talking about potatoes.
That is right. Potatoes. And I know what listeners might be thinking. Potatoes? How exciting can that be? But here is the thing. Potatoes are the third most important food crop on the planet, after rice and wheat. Over 1 billion people depend on them. And the way we breed and grow potatoes has been essentially stuck in the 19th century.
Okay, so what do you mean by stuck? What is wrong with how we grow potatoes now?
So here is the fundamental problem. When you grow rice or wheat, you plant seeds. Tiny, lightweight seeds you can ship in a bag. But potatoes, you plant pieces of potato tuber. Actual chunks of potato. Imagine you are a farmer in sub-Saharan Africa and you need to plant a field of potatoes. Someone has to ship you tons of these bulky, heavy tubers in refrigerated trucks because they will rot otherwise. And those tubers can carry diseases from the soil they were grown in. It is expensive, wasteful, and a major barrier to food security.
So the dream is to grow potatoes from seeds instead, like we do with other crops?
Exactly. And that brings us to this new paper published in Nature Plants by a team at the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences, led by Chunji Jiang. They have made a major breakthrough toward making hybrid potato seeds a reality. But to understand why this is so hard, we need to talk about chromosomes.
All right, hit me with the genetics.
So most plants and animals, including humans, are diploid. That means we have 2 copies of each chromosome, one from mom, one from dad. It is a nice, manageable system. But potatoes are tetraploid. They have 4 copies of every chromosome. Think of it like a library. A diploid organism has 2 copies of every book, easy to organize. A tetraploid organism has 4 copies of every book, and each copy has different typos and missing pages. Trying to breed for specific traits in that mess is incredibly difficult.
So the solution is to simplify the genetics?
Right. Researchers have been working on converting potatoes from tetraploid 4 copies down to diploid 2 copies. They do this through something called haploid induction. You first create a plant with just 1 copy of each chromosome, a haploid, and then you double that single set. Now you have 2 identical copies. It is like photocopying the one clean edition of every book, so you have a neat, organized library.
And then you can cross 2 of these clean diploid lines to make hybrids?
Exactly. You cross 2 different diploid lines, and you get an F1 hybrid that benefits from something called hybrid vigor, or heterosis. The offspring are stronger and more productive than either parent. This is the same principle that revolutionized corn decades ago.
Okay, so that is the background. What is the specific breakthrough in this paper?
The breakthrough is about self-incompatibility. The team created diploid potato lines that cannot pollinate themselves. It is like a lock that does not fit its own key. The plant makes pollen, but that pollen simply cannot fertilize the plant's own flowers. And this solves 2 huge problems at once.
What are the 2 problems?
Problem number 1 is what scientists call sync competition. Every plant has a limited energy budget. It can spend that energy growing tubers, which is what we want, or it can spend that energy making flowers and fruits. Yes, potato plants actually make small berries above ground, like little tomatoes. When a plant pollinates itself, it makes these berries, and growing them drains energy away from the tubers underground. The berries and tubers are competing for the same pool of resources. By making the plant self-incompatible, no berries form. All that energy goes straight into the tubers. The result is a higher harvest index, meaning more of the plant's total effort goes into the part we actually eat.
That is elegant. And the second problem?
Problem number 2 is about hybrid seed purity. When you are trying to produce hybrid seeds commercially, you cross 2 parent lines in a field. But if the parents can pollinate themselves, you end up with a mix of true hybrids and self-pollinated seeds. Sorting them is expensive. With self-incompatible parents, every single seed is guaranteed to be a true hybrid, because self-pollination is biologically impossible. That makes large-scale, low-cost hybrid seed production feasible.
So let me make sure I have this right. Instead of shipping a bag of potatoes to a farmer, you could ship a tiny packet of seeds?
Precisely. A packet of seeds that is disease-free, shelf-stable, and cost a fraction of what seed tubers cost to transport. The global seed potato industry ships roughly 36 million metric tons of tubers every year. You could theoretically replace all of that with a few hundred tons of seeds. It is like replacing a fleet of cargo ships with a single mail truck.
That is an incredible image. And the implications for food security in developing countries must be enormous.
They really are. In many parts of Africa and South Asia, farmers cannot access quality seed potatoes because the logistics are too expensive and complicated. Hybrid seeds could be distributed through the same channels that already deliver rice and vegetable seeds. It completely changes the equation.
This feels like it could be one of those quiet papers that ends up being looked back on as a turning point.
I think so. The team at the Agricultural Genomics Institute at Shenzhen has essentially built a complete breeding pipeline. Haploid induction to create clean diploid lines, self-incompatibility to eliminate energy waste and guarantee hybrid purity, and F1 hybridization to harness hybrid vigor. If this scales up, it could do for potatoes what the Green Revolution did for wheat and rice 50 years ago.
Potato revolution. I love it. Thanks for breaking that down, Mike. Who knew stopping a plant from flowering could have such massive consequences?
That is the beauty of plant science, Sarah. Sometimes the simplest interventions have the most profound impacts. And for a crop that feeds over 1 billion people, this could not come at a more critical time.
Thanks for listening to SciSense. Share it with a friend. See you next time.